break down a little bit about how that LIBF qualification is made up in the modules, and it's 6 in the CII. How many are in the LIBF? So give us a breakdown of that.
Yeah, so we are 6 modules again. The standard is exactly the same throughout all qualification awarding bodies. So when you look at the, they call them the APEX standards. So I'm not going to get too technical. You can look it up if you want to, but it's basically a set of standards that all qualification awarding bodies have to face into, and we have to ensure that the FCA are happy with the content that we've put together, and it's examined in exactly the right way. So we are Ofqual recognised as well as FCA recognised as well. So first and foremost, anybody that's in any doubt whatsoever that one qualification awarding body is above the other, that's totally incorrect. They all follow exactly the same standards. What differs is the methodology and the way that people learn from us. We have always been, first of all, quite academic in the past, and that sounds like it's a bit of a grey matter kind of approach to learning, but actually it's completely the opposite of that. I say that you do need to have some brain cells, clearly. Well, mine are decreasing significantly in the last few years.
But your legs are good.
Legs are all right.
50 marathon, so.
But what I mean by that is that we're a lot more practical. So what we want students to do is to think for themselves, and by thinking for themselves, they learn in a different style, in a different way. We're not, textbook driven. In fact, we don't have a textbook. Everything's online. You can order a textbook, but we can print off through Amazon, no problem at all. But our primary focus is to use an online tool using our LMS, our learning management system called Brightspace. We have total autonomy over, and we develop our own learning systems through that particular platform. And the way it works is completely autonomous to any external learning. However, a lot of training partners really like the way that we do it, because it means that they can plug in their own digital learning resources very, very easily to it. Hence the reason why David and the team at Red Mill have been absolutely passionate about bringing their learning systems towards ours, and actually it just fits in quite nicely. And of course, the way that we work together is if there's any doubt about some of the learning materials, we can change them instantly, and it's then changed for the learner instantly and updated, and our updates are phenomenally quick, to the point that actually our learners don't notice if we've made any changes. We do it so seamlessly. But the 6 modules, so as you would expect, we have the regulation which of course everybody seems to be a little bit reticent about. They're never very keen on financial services regulation and ethics. I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to this, so I actually retook my financial services regulation and ethics over Christmas, and so I'm quite a recent adopter of the way our studies work. And I can tell you, just because I'm the director of financial services doesn't mean to say I'm not close to the way the learning works. And the experience was phenomenal. I used to train it a long time ago when I was at Intrinsic, so that particular subject matter is quite close to my heart. I don't find it as dull as other people, but that's just me. But the examinations, each one of the modules is split into 2. So you can have your cornflakes and your cup of Earl Grey in the morning, take module 1, pass it, hopefully, and then go away, do a bit of work, do a little bit of study, have a bit of lunch, and then do module 2 in the afternoon. And rather than taking the entire exam all in one go, but the exams are taken at home.
Yeah.
And so you don't need to leave the comfort of your home. There is a set of circumstances you have to go through to get the room checked and get a camera and a webcam to look at the room. They are remotely invigilated. They are recorded. So if there's any case of any possible cheating going on, it will be picked up. But that said, when you're taking the exam, you forget about all of that and you just focus on the exam in your slippers if you want to, and do it in whatever room you're comfortable in your house, and then get your results practically immediately.
Right, so it's very instant and it's very controllable by the person who's going through the process.
Totally.
What happens if somebody fails an exam? How quickly can they retake it?
Immediately. Now, we wouldn't recommend that, clearly, but you'll be surprised. There's the odd person that will potentially fail something. And let's be fair about it, regulation ethics, it does happen. We have a pass rate that is exactly the same as the rest as our competitors. But what you tend to find is that the student might fail by 1 mark, which is hard to take. When you walk out of an exam room, traditionally, you've missed by 1 mark, you're kicking yourself, and then you've got to rebook, and it's going to be 2 or 3 weeks away. And, then you've got to go back and restudy again, and it takes a bit of time to get your knowledge. It's a bit like if you look at Slash from Guns N' Roses, right? Okay, phenomenal guitarist, and old Brian May is this exactly my. Obviously, I've got on wearing the badge, so clearly I am a fan. But it doesn't matter who you are. To get yourself back up to performance level, you've got to do a lot of practice. Okay, so these guys don't turn up at a venue and just say, right, okay, here we go, right, give me the guitar and away we go.
Slash probably does.
Actually, he probably could, to be fair, but he does play every day. I get your point. Fairness. Yeah, exactly. But it takes a while to sort of get into that performance mode, and this is no different with exams. So if you're kind of on the cusp of passing and you want to take it in the afternoon and rebook, then you can do that, which is absolutely a phenomenal way of doing things. And obviously we do restrict the number of retakes you take, because clearly if you've missed 3 times, that's not necessarily, you're not going to suddenly pass on the 4th attempt.
If I have to retake it, do I have to retake the whole exam?
You don't. That's the beauty of it. So if you've got financial services regulation and ethics, and it's split into 2 modules, you pass module 1, fail module 2, then you just take module 2. Whereas traditionally you'd have had to have taken the entire exam all over again. You don't need to do that with LIBF.
Right.
And then the other 4 modules that are multiple choice are taxation and trusts, investments and pensions, and protection. And once you've done those, you can then do the case study. Now, this is the final sort of traditionally a written exam. We used to have a written exam for that particular module a long time ago, but we changed that. It was something that in fact, I instigated that within our IBF to get that changed, because you do not get the best exam performance from somebody who's just learns from a case study and then regurgitates that in an exam room and just writes it down. That's not necessarily the way to get good performance. So we changed it to a case study where you've got 6 weeks to put that case study together. There is full plagiarism software out there that will measure it and make sure that there's nothing going on between the candidates, that they're doing their own work. Each case study is changed every 6 weeks, so they're getting something different every 6 weeks. They are manually marked, so you don't get an instant result on those, but actually that's no different to if it was a written exam. And the beauty of it is that it's always one going. So if you do happen to fail that case study, then you literally just jump on to the next one and start again. So it's really not a difficult thing. You're not going to get sort of too far behind on that one. Whereas with the written exam, you get all that stress of having to sort of learn it and redo it all over again. And the beauty of it is that when you've done your case study, it's yours. Mm-hmm. I always like that analogy. You know, you've done all that work, and a lot of those, you write it down, you send it off to the exam centre, and that's it. Actually, you keep, you've sent it and uploaded it, but actually that's your work. And that's the whole practical element of the way we like to work, is that actually, what you've learned, you keep and you retain, and you can use it over and over again. But it's very, very practical to the day job, because you're doing a case study and you can ask a colleague for advice on certain things. You can do the research as you're going along, and you can formulate your own dissertation effectively before you submit it, which I think is just phenomenal. Plus, alongside training partners such as Red Mill, they give all the coaching as to how to go about completing it properly as well. How you go about putting the case study together.
Sorry, yeah, crack on.
No, I was just going to say exactly that, Sam. There's some, as you can probably hear, actually, there's some key differences in the LIBF route to level 4 and actually level 6 as well versus others. I mean, for us, it made more sense for us to not rewrite the entire LIBF training, so because it's so good and it's delivered in a certain way on the LIBF LMS. So instead, what we chose to do was write supplementary material. So we do have supplementary learning material that feeds into the LIBF material and references that and feeds back to it. It's digital learning, so that sits within our LMS. But as John mentioned, we make sure that that's very seamless for the delegate. And then one of the key things is, again, John's just mentioned, is we will, it's our tutors that will train. I think Quilter's a great example of that, both at level 4 and level 6, actually. They can access that supplementary digital support, which is obviously helping enhance the potential of that pass. but also access the expert tutors, and that's on a weekly basis in terms of, you know, those important touch points. And it's also classroom time at the end of that learning to make sure that we're kind of putting the icing on the cake at the end of that digital learning. And then there's some other really great stuff in there. I mean, that again is different. You know, things like, and for example, the fact that each exam is broken into 2 parts, and you don't have to, you can, you know, if you fail one part of it, you only have to reset that. And you can understand why some clients out there might feel that that route is a particularly good way to support, you know, the delegates that are moving through those academies. So yeah, we support it in a supplementary way rather than rewriting the entire content like we do for other academies, and it works extremely well.